Welcome to IBM Partner Skills. Like, share and subscribe channel.
uh, 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 Notes kind of thing where I'll quickly walk you through about all the uh, terminologies that I'm going to use. Maybe most of you guys know about this. Still, bear with me. There will be few of those things which like will be unique or new with respect to WebSphere. So once this is done, the next class onwards we'll start full-fledged gas installation part. So as I told, like in first class, we'll talk about the basic terminology that I'm going to use, like a server client and the client server architect that we are going to use. So I'll assume that everyone is new to this, so I'll walk you through about all this. So like what is a server? So maybe all we know is like a server is a medium from which I can try to access some endpoint resource. So server gives me some client from where a request will come and the server will serve that request based on its resources. So VAS will be one of the server, and on that we'll have our application deployed. So application will be kind of resource that it's hosting, and being like a client will be a computer from where a user can try to access the server for its resource. So client will give me some medium to send me a request. Request will land on server. Server will process that request based on its resources, send back me the response. So that will be the basic one-to-one or two-tier client server architect, where all you need all you need is a client, and then there is a medium like over its internet or over intranet. It should connect to the server. It should be local or it should be remote. So based on that, you should have a network. So once that is done, so like in a VAS, we are majorly going to talk about two things, like what is web server and what is application server. And the web server that we are going to use will be IBM HTTP server. But apart from that, there are other web servers in market which you may see in your projects, like Windows IIS, Tomcat Apache, or the iPlanet. So it's like Solaris product. So there are major other web servers also in market, and like that there are majorly other application servers also in market, like JBoss, WebLogic, WebSphere Application Server, others. So what we are going to touch as in a web server is IHS, and as in a app server, our WAS was. So what's the basic difference between a web server and application server in terms of when we'll talk about was will be that web server will serve only the static pages, and it's and the basic like usage of for having a web server in front of app server will be so that you manage the traffic, and you manage the static pages like maintenance pages, login page, logout page, error page, and all. You serve all those static pages, all the business logic request you send to me. Being an app server, I'll run the business logic and give response back to you, and you give back to the user or load balancer or whatever medium is in front of you. So, so that will be a basic architect that we will be using here. We will have a browser. From browser, we'll try to hit request, and we'll see whether request is reaching to web server. Then we'll have a somewhere in between web server and app server plugin, IHS plugin, and a plugin will route request to app servers. And then app servers have a business logic to connect to any third-party mediums, like it can connect to MQ, LDAP, or the database, or any third-party in other sort. So other terminology that being in a VAS admin you have been always been using is like we are doing application hosting. So what's actually application hosting? So like being a VAS admin, people always ask you like, okay, so what's your basic work? What do you do? So we say like, okay, we are application hosting team. We host applications and we do BU support, or we do all kind of maintenance activity, upgrade activity. So what is basically is what's application hosting? So it's like we are making sure that we give application team a platform from where they can deploy their code, or we can help them deploy their code if it's in a higher environment. And we do all connectivity for them, like if they need third party calling, database access, MQ access, LDAP access, security, SSL certificate, all those infrastructure stuff. We do all those things, and we host their application. We make sure that their applications are accessible on a particular URL, particular port, and once that is done, we help them to go in live. Once they have gone live, then we help them to make sure that there is all the upgrade activities, BU support, or any code fix is being supported by us. So those all will be application hosting. So in our course, we'll try to deploy an application, and we'll see like how application hosting or application deployment being done in was. So there, I just wanted to you guys to check, like if you are aware of the concept of URI and URL, why it's important. Because tomorrow, when suppose there is an application deployed, and there is no wiki page, or there is no internal page where you know, like, okay, this is the application URL. But if you are aware of like how to create an URL and what is the URI in factor in a URL, then you can create your own application URL. So like you can check, okay, this application deployed on so and so server, so that will be the host name. And on particular app server, if it's deployed, what's the port number to access this particular application on that application server. So let's find out that port number, and then find out the URI, which will be called as a context route in terms of was. So like what is the context route for that particular application, and based on all that, you can create your own URL. So basically what will happen, so suppose we all know that it will be an HTTP request, and then all you have to give is the host name where your server is hosted, and then you have to give the port number. So let's say whether it's 9080, the default port for an app server, and then maybe your application context route. So which, so this part is URI, like you are identifying your resource, and this is your server. So this server is having multiple resource available on this particular port, and this is a resource identifier, and this is the protocol that you are going to use. If you are having a secure traffic, you use HTTPS or you use HTTP. And if you are using HTTPS, then you will have secure port enabled here. So we'll talk about all this. Basic idea is that okay, so this and this request I'll hit from one of the browser being a client. So basic idea is that I should have some server, and request should come to this server on some port, and I should know what is my resource identifier. Based on that, I can create my own URL. I can access the application. So because in the most of the fine when you go on board, you get all the wiki pages where your application URLs and all is known, is documented somewhere. But it's well to know like how to create these URLs. So I'll let you know like how to, where to check these ports and all, and host name and all. Once all that is done, so I'll just quickly walk you through like how request actually flows in this architect. So I have just taken a few screenshots. So basically what happens, being a browser, being a client, you will hit request from one of the browser, and then based on your security stuff, you can put a firewall, and the request can lands to one of the load balancer. Load balancer will be an external component who just load balances the request based on the internal component's health, and some algorithm like round robin and other algorithms. So somewhere there will be a web server. Web server will get all the requests based on their health. So load balancer will send request to web server, and then web server will send request to app server. In between those two servers, you can put another firewall if you want, or and the connectivity will be through plugin. Request comes to app server, and then from app server it goes to all the other stuff, or app server itself does the business logic. So in this like a three-tier architect, if you are taking a load balancer as a one tier also, what happens, you can put multiple firewalls you can put multiple SSL handshake. You can put SSL stuff between load balancer and web server. Like you can make sure that the traffic is secure based on a single certificate, and then you can secure the traffic among web server, IHS plugin and was based on one certificate. So that traffic is secured, and from was, if request goes to some third party, you can put some outbound SSL also, so that traffic will also be secure. So sometimes we tell that also as an advantage of using web server in front of the app server, because it gives me a flexibility, it gives me a channel. Between that channel, I can either put firewall or I can put a SSL handshake, so I can secure my traffic. And what happens? It gets a tunneling effect. So when theoretically it's called as tunneling effect. It's like it generates a pipeline. So you can put multiple faucets at some place and can maintain the traffic. Suppose this load balancer is one of the faucet, and it you can make sure how much request should come inside based on how much load my web servers can handle, and based on if you strictly talk about how many thread pools you are having, how many threads your web server can generate. So based on that, you can take the traffic, and based on that, how much request you want to send to app server to make sure that no request should get timed out. Better that you make sure that the requests are on waiting status rather than being timed out. And based on your app servers and web servers health, you can actually flow the traffic. So you can use the tunneling effect of VAS. So slowly in the class, I'll walk you through all those concepts. So that's a advantage of using web servers. Uh, this is one of the other descriptive representation of the same thing. Is like web browser is sending request to HTTP server, which is having one plugin, and then it can send two kind of request, either secure or non-secure, HTTP and HTTPS. Request goes to the app servers, which has its own built-in HTTP transport layer. So every app server has its own HTTP transport layer also, where request goes, and it's from its web container, all the static requests like HTTP, HTML, JSP, and servlets get served, and all those where it needs its EJB container to come into picture for the managed beans and all. So EJB container will serve those requests. So this is in a overview of few of the concepts. Once we'll start installing VAS, we'll have the VAS running setup for us. We'll talk much about it, because VAS itself says that I'm an application server, but it's a built-in of multiple servers. It's a built-in of inbuilt HTTP server. Then there is a security server, which who manages global security and all the security stuff. Then there is a JNDI concept. Then web container is there, EJB container is there. So we'll talk about all the layers available in the app server once we'll have the setup slowly done for us. So with all this like a basic terminologies, we know that okay, what is server, what is client, and how request will flow, where my web server will sit, where my plugin will sit, where my VAS will sit, what are their a basic functionality, and all those, with all those view, we'll go ahead and we'll try to create our setup. So based on this knowledge, what